Tens of thousands take to the streets to be the first to try out the soon-to-open Central Kowloon Bypass in the annual Streetathon. Despite the summer flu season nearing an end, Hongkongers are still urged to get flu jabs for the upcoming winter flu peak. And the U.S. may be launching a new phase of Venezuela operations as a number of international airlines are suspending flights. Good evening. You're watching Cable News. I'm Jeremy Chu. In an urban running first, 20,000 runners thundered through the brand-new traffic-free Central Kowloon route today, transforming the city's latest mega infrastructure into a spectacular racetrack before its official opening next month. Quentin Yang tells us more.
Kicking off as early as 5 a.m. on the island's eastern corridor, the full-and-half marathon weaved through the Eastern Harbor Tunnel into Kowloon. This unique route granted a first-ever chance to run the entire 4.7-kilometer Yaomate section of the Central Kowloon Bypass before it opens to public on December 21st. Deputy Chief Secretary Warner Chuk, who officiated the start, highlighted this timing, noting it gave runners exclusive access to experience Hong Kong's outstanding infrastructure. The sentiment was echoed by senior officials running the race, including Secretary for Transport and Logistics Mabel Chen, who expressed hopes to host a similar event next year for the opening of the Cha Kwo Ling Tunnel. Samuel Fletcher, the first to finish the half marathon at 7:11 a.m., praised the course's beautiful scenery.
So we started before the sun rose. We're running through the eastern tunnel in the dark, and then at one point we were coming as the sun was rising over the harbor, and just the beautiful cityscape was just unmatched.
Yet the new route presented challenges with steep elevation changes, culminating in a demanding 2-kilometer ascent toward the Yaomate finish. This is definitely the most challenging tunnel route I've experienced, this runner shared. Despite the physical toll, runners found the effort rewarding. It was tough, but worth it to run on a new road, another participant remarked. The event concluded in a festive atmosphere with cheering squads, live bands, and commemorative medals for all. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
Residents, particularly those in high-risk groups, are urged to get their flu jabs as a winter influenza surge is anticipated in the near future with cooler weather approaching. Best Learn reports.
Speaking on a radio program, David Hui, Chair Professor of Respiratory Medicine at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, said, although the number of summer flu cases is expected to decline to baseline levels by late this month to early December, Hong Kongers should be aware of the soon coming winter flu peak. Hui indicated that this season has seen several severe influenza cases in children, including 2 fatalities and multiple serious infections. The professor added that since September, the SAR has administered 1.33 million influenza vaccine doses, 3.9% more than the same period last year. However, over 80% of children aged 6 months to 2 years have still not been vaccinated, failing to establish sufficient immune protection. Regarding COVID-19, Hui noted that new variant strains are currently circulating in Europe and the United States, with cases beginning to emerge in Hong Kong. He warned that a surge could occur between January and March, emphasizing that current vaccines remain effective and high-risk groups should seek booster protection. Best Learn, Cable News.
Separately, health experts have forecasted a continued rise in the activity of respiratory viruses, particularly influenza and respiratory syncytial virus or RSV. High-risk individuals could face more severe illness if co-infected with both viruses.
Mike Kwan, chairman of the Asian Congress of Pediatric Infectious Diseases, said the mortality rate in children infected with RSV is 10 times higher than with influenza. He further warned that patients hospitalized with multiple concurrent viral infections often experience more severe symptoms and face an increased risk of dying. Since June, Hong Kong has been recording over 200 confirmed RSV cases weekly. Experts caution that if the extended summer flu season overlaps with the upcoming winter peak, elevated levels of respiratory virus activity could persist indefinitely.
The government said it is highly concerned about a fatal work accident that happened at the cyclone's construction yesterday.
The accident happened yesterday morning when a male worker's clothing was entangled by the cutting drill of a concrete core drilling machine, causing his neck to be strangled by his clothing. The Labor Department has launched an immediate on-site probe and has issued suspension notices to the contractors concerned, suspending the use of concrete core drilling machines on the site. It pledged to complete the investigation as soon as possible to identify the cause of the accident, ascertain the liability of the duty holders, and recommend improvement measures. It also reminded the employer concerned of the liability to assist family members of the deceased to claim employees' compensation.
A dramatic U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean is casting a long shadow over Venezuela, triggering international flight cancellations and signaling a more confrontational phase in Washington's offensive against Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's administration. Quentin Yang reports.
The crisis for civilian air travel escalated this weekend as 6 international airlines canceled flights to and from Venezuela. This was prompted by a stark U.S. Federal Aviation Administration warning of a potentially hazardous situation in Venezuelan airspace due to a heightened military activity. The warning coincides with one of the largest American military deployments in the region in recent years. The U.S. Navy has positioned its most advanced aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, alongside at least 8 other warships and F-35 fighter jets. Since September, this armada has conducted at least 21 lethal strikes on vessels alleged to be involved in drug trafficking, resulting in more than 80 fatalities. Against this tense backdrop, the Trump administration is weighing direct operations to destabilize Maduro's regime. Officials have discussed using military aircraft to drop propaganda leaflets over the capital city of Caracas, offering a $50 million bounty for Maduro on his 63rd birthday this Sunday. Further raising the stakes, the U.S. is poised to formally designate Venezuela's state-embedded network, the Cartel de los Soles, as a foreign terrorist organization for its alleged drug trafficking. The Trump administration accuses Maduro of leading the cartel, which he denies. Trump said the upcoming designation would enable the U.S. to strike Maduro's assets in Venezuela, but he also indicated a willingness to pursue talks for a diplomatic solution. In response, Maduro has accused Washington of inventing pretexts for war while expressing his own openness to dialogue. Quentin Ya, Cable News.
United States President Donald Trump has stated that his proposed peace plan to end the Russia-Ukraine war is not his final offer. Meanwhile, leaders from multiple European nations have issued statements emphasizing that any proposal must be agreed upon by both Europe and Ukraine.
Facing backlash from Ukraine and several European countries demanding revisions to his earlier 28-point peace proposal, Trump appeared to be maintaining an open stance.
No, not my fault. No, we'd like to get the peace. It should have happened a long time ago. The Ukraine war with Russia should have never happened. If I were president, it never would have happened. We're trying to get it ended. One way or the other, we have to get it ended.
The proposed peace plan would require Ukraine to cede 20% of its territory, reduce its military forces, destroy long-range missiles, abandon its bid to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and prohibit the alliance from stationing troops in the country. Reports indicate that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has insisted that the proposal was authored by the U.S. based on input from both Russia and Ukraine. The remarks came after senators alleged he had earlier described it as a Russian wish list that did not reflect the U.S. position. Leaders from the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and other European nations met at the G20 summit in South Africa and discussed a response to the proposal. Together with the European Union, Canada, Japan, and others, they issued a joint statement. The statement stressed that the matter concerns the security of Ukraine and the whole of Europe, and that the U.S. must engage in broader consultations.
What is at stake is obviously Ukrainian sovereignty and European security. It's normal to have both the Ukrainians and the Europeans on the table to finalize this plan.
After extended overtime negotiations, the United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP30 in Brazil, has adopted an agreement that promises increased aid to poor nations affected by global warming. However, the deal failed to incorporate a roadmap for the phase-out of fossil fuels.
Although more than 80 participating countries had pushed for the agreement to establish a roadmap to reduce dependence on the fossil fuels that cause global warming, the relevant wording was ultimately omitted from the final text. This came after opposition from several oil-producing nations, including Saudi Arabia.
The legendary Orient Express returns to the spotlight and makes a stop in Paris, not at a station but a museum. Visitors can now step into life-size recreations of its carriages and relive the glamour of 1920s luxury travel. Jamie Liu tells us more.
The train, made famous by Agatha Christie's detective novel, stood with quiet elegance in its navy blue exterior. Step inside the carriages, and the first impression is a design steeped in the charm of the 1920s train travel. These carriages are life-size mock-ups of the new Orient Express, set to launch in 2027. The new train will host 64 guests on a 2 to 4 day journey between Paris and Istanbul. The original route launched in 1883, when the gateway to the fantasy of the East first came within reach of Europeans. The designer believes the new train could be the most complex hotel on rails, integrating design with modern comforts hidden from passengers.
If you don't go on each details, it's a problem, because the glass is going to vibrate, is going to move. The chairs has to be heavy, but not too much, to be movable, but not really moving during the train journey. Everything is a problem and needs a specific solution.
The train is now on display at the Paris Decorative Arts Museum, which is commemorating 100 years since the landmark 1925 International Exhibition of Decorative Arts and Modern Industries, the event that gave Art Deco its name. Art Deco is an art style characterized by clean lines, geometric shapes, and stylized elements such as zigzags and chevrons.
Art Deco is about simplification of forms, of patterns, of motifs. They are more or less the same motifs as Art Nouveau, like women, animals, or flowers, but they are simpler and geometric.
Beyond the train, the exhibition also explores Art Deco's influence through Cartier jewelry pieces and the work of leading designers such as Eileen Gray and Jacques-Émile Rouman. It will run until April 26 next year. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
On to the weather now. Cloudy periods overnight, mainly fine, dry and warm during the day. Temperatures will be ranging from 21 to 27 degrees. That's our news tonight. I'm Jeremy Zhu. Thanks for watching and good night.